Hey everybody, this is Tom. I've got some really exciting news for you today. I launched the Small Scale Life Patreon page. Yes, we're on Patreon now. So if you like Small Scale Life and want to get more Small Scale Life, check out our page and subscribe. It's at patreon.com/smallscalelife. Hey everyone, this is Tom, your host of the Small Scale Life podcast. I'm glad you are here. In this Small Scale Life YouTube video and podcast episode, I'm having tea time with Red Dragon Herbs and Teas. We're going to be talking about backyard homesteading and starting a small business from home. Who knows, maybe Ryan's story will motivate you to try that small side hustle that brings you extra income for you and your family. You never know. So Red Dragon Herbs and Teas is a small tea business from Des Moines, Iowa. Ryan and Mary Lewellin started Red Dragon Herbs and Teas in 2015. They've grown the business through word of mouth and at local, and sometimes not so local, farmers markets. This is their story of international travel and tea tasting, humble beginnings, government regulations, and overcoming them all. It's tea time. Grab your favorite cup of tea, put on your headphones, and enjoy the show. But before we begin, we always have to start with our Hall of Heroes. It's hard to have a bad day when you start your day with gratitude. As part of our intentionally practicing gratitude here at Small Scale Life, I'm starting this podcast episode by recognizing some folks who've been active and helped us along on our journey. First, I'd like to thank Ryan and Mary from Red Dragon Herbs and Teas for reaching out and being great folks to work with for this interview and on the podcast episode. I wish them the best of luck and can't wait to taste their wonderful teas. Thanks, guys. Then I wanted to thank, of course, Dan, Sue, and Jules for all their work, removing buckthorn on Eagles Ridge, building Billy Goat's Rough, and working on the stairs. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Julie and I recently introduced the Eagles Ridge Homestead project, and we're in love with the land and the people there. We can't wait to talk about this more with you. Things are really moving forward with some big projects on the drawing board. At the same time, I've been uploading videos, progress videos, on the Small Scale Life YouTube channel, so go there, check out where we're at. I'll have links in the show notes, so you can go there at smallscalelife.com. And of course, I want to thank my family, especially the young men in Savannah in my life. They are special people who are starting to spread their wings, and they always make me laugh when we're together. So, good stuff is happening, and I've saved the best for last. We have another huge milestone and a special thank you to talk about. I am so thankful and grateful for all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a I have a really big special announcement for you all. So this morning when I woke up, I looked at how the podcasts and such were doing on our hosting service, and I noticed I just jumped out of bed because we broke 130,000 downloads of the Small Scale Life podcast on our current hosting service, fireside.fm. For us, this is an incredible milestone, and I am so grateful. Thank you for listening to this humble podcast, laughing at my dad jokes, enjoying the guests, and being there for us through thick and thin, even during the hard times of summer when the whole world around us was literally burning down in Minneapolis. Thank you for reaching out and offering help and sticking with us when we disappeared for about 6 months. We needed the time to get ready for what's coming next. So we've come a long way in our 5 years, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. We started with nothing, and we've come a long way. But I'm really super excited for what Julie and I are planning next. We're going to build something that will inspire you to start homesteading, to start gardening, to start making some money on the side, to save some money, and to build your tribe no matter where you are in this world. We're going to inspire you as much as you inspire us to keep going and pushing forward. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of our small scale life. Let's learn, do, grow, and be a little better every day together. So what are you grateful for? Maybe you should tell that person or that organization. Give it a try. Might change your life. All right. One more announcement and then we'll get into it. So, do you have a side hustle or business? Some of you have great projects, side hustles, or businesses. Perhaps you could teach me. I could learn from you, and it would be free advertising for your project, side hustle, or idea. Share your story by being on the Small Scale Life podcast. Send a message to me using the Contact Us page on smallscalelife.com. This is your chance to teach us as we continue to learn, do, grow, and be a little better every day. So, speaking of escape velocity and small businesses and being guests on the show, my guest Ryan actually reached out to me after listening to our show with Glenn Tate, Shelby Gallagher, and Mr. Tactical J. He wanted to tell his story about homesteading, backyard homesteading, and starting a small business. Seemed like a perfect match to me, and after some emailing back and forth, Ryan and I got together to talk homesteading and tea. So welcome to Tea Time. Welcome to Tea Time. Without further ado, here is Ryan Lewellin from Red Dragon Herbs and Teas. All right, so welcome to the Small Scale Life podcast. Ryan, welcome to the show. We're really excited to have you. You are here from Red Dragon Herbs and Teas. What a very cool name, but we are very excited for you to be here. So why don't you introduce yourself? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm Ryan Lewellin, and as you said, me along with my wife Mary, we're the owners of Red Dragon Herbs and Teas. We live in Des Moines, Iowa.
Cool.
Just kind of a very typical family, I guess, in a way. It's me and her. Then we've got 2 small kids and 2 stepkids that are with us, that are teenagers that are with us half the time, and a cat and a dog. So we've got a full house.
Oh wow!
Lot of different directions, I guess, we're going, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I've got a full-time job at a tire factory here in Des Moines, and that I guess there's 2 tire factories here. So if you know Des Moines, you could probably guess which one. But so I've got the full-time job, and my wife pretty much at this point has taken most of everything with Red Dragon Herbs is like almost her full-time job by now. So
cool.
It definitely keeps us busy. So
Sure. Well, I know you've got a backyard homestead. I'm very interested in that. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the Red Dragon Herbs and Teas, or do you want to start with your homestead? What do you want to start with first?
I guess we can start with the homestead. Yeah.
Just one feed into the other. Like you're doing this, and all of a sudden, hey, let's try this. Is that
yeah. The stories, I guess, are kind of intertwined in a way. But we were doing I guess I was doing the backyard homestead thing before the business, and it kind of bled into the other. So
yep, I appreciate that. I'm the same. I'm the gardener of the family, believe it or not. My wife was a wedding florist, but she's like, I cut them after they're already dying. You keep them alive, and not that I was ever growing anything for a floral business, but I could keep the plants alive. She'd made them beautiful, after the fact. So I appreciate that. So do you have like a 1/4 acre lot or like a city lot, or do you have?
Yeah, it's I've got a little bit less than 1/4 of an acre.
Okay.
And I just live in a very I guess you would say kind of a typical middle class neighborhood here in Des Moines.
Sure.
It's not quite like it's a little bit older, houses built in, late 70s, early 80s. So it's not like the, kind of typical cul-de-sac suburb, but, just normal neighborhood. And there's advantages to that too. You can get away with a little bit more sometimes.
Yes.
But,
no HOA.
Yeah, no HOA.
Good on you.
Sometimes the neighbors have chickens and stuff too, so no one really cares. But it's a pretty nicely set up backyard for homesteading, just because it's fenced off and it's more or less completely flat. By Iowa standards or Minnesota standards, as we were talking before the show, it's definitely flat. Yep. And get a good amount of sun back there. So there's quite a bit that I could do with it, and over the years I've tried quite a bit with it. So I think
was there a certain point where you said, okay, today I'm going to start gardening, or was that something your family did, or or maybe you heard a podcaster that we both have listened to and said, whoa, this is a really good idea. I can turn my backyard into a food forest, right? And
yeah. Yeah, I've definitely gotten a lot of ideas from the podcast. The survival podcast that we talked about. But I think it's something that maybe is in my family background. My grandmother, on my mom's side, she lived just outside of the city, and in a rural area, but it was still close enough where from her property you could see the tallest building in Iowa, which is 40 some stories, and so it's 15 minutes out of town basically. And I always liked, when I was there as a kid, she would have a pretty big garden. And apparently my grandfather, he died when I was a couple of years old, so I don't really remember him, but apparently he was really into the homesteading thing, and that's part of the reason why he was there. So I guess like he subscribed to like Mother Earth News, and would do like kind of knew what organic gardening was before it was a thing.
Absolutely.
So I guess there's a little bit of a background. I remember just little memories, like as a kid eating snow peas that grandma grew, or turnips that they grew in their garden, things like that. And as a kid, every now and then we would have like a little garden in the backyard, but wasn't something we were really consistent with, just kind of a few years thing. But when I got my own house and my own, yard to play with, it's something that was a little incremental, I think. It started off pretty much as soon as I could, I think. I'd keep a few containers of, basil, cilantro, chives, this kind of thing. And then, the next year I tried cherry tomatoes in a container, and, just kind of to varying success. I don't know, I got a little bit more interested in vegetables, I guess. My ex-wife, who I was married to at the time, we did the CSA.
Okay.
And we were both kind of adventurous, I guess, with our cooking. She was a vegan and very like health conscious, so she knew all the vegetables and what to do with them and so forth. So and we kind of learned a lot together, I think. But so we decided one year that we were going to make a few raised beds. And
yes.
We started off with 4x8 ones, and we had a pretty productive year, I think, the first year. And honestly, we went like mostly me. I guess I kind of get carried away sometimes with things, but
no.
We kind of went ape shit, to be honest. We got just like containers and little pop-up greenhouses. Tried many dwarf trees in containers. Planted berries. I mean, we had the space to do it, had the time to do it, and we had a pretty good year. It was just kind of a fun little thing. And then the next year, I remember I put in, I think 3 more garden beds, so we had 7 in total. And it was just kind of a thing where kind of kept going, and learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. Honestly, we could probably make a detour in the show right now and talk about like my homestead failures, but
those are really interesting shows too, because so many people, especially this year, got into gardening, and they're doing the COVID garden thing, and all of a sudden it's weed patch. They thought, I'm going to grow my own food because we had scarcity earlier this year and nothing was in the stores, and then they tried it, and then these weeds popped up, and it was like, oh my gosh, because that's how my parents gardened. And your story about chicken math or garden math, Julie's going to enjoy that, because I'm going to say, see, it's not just me. There's other people that do that too.
And just kind of one thing on the COVID gardens, real quick, is my wife's ex-in-laws, we get along with them very well, and they're homesteaders, or they have a big garden and do all this. But when Corona first kind of became a thing here, well, for one, I was kind of spooked because they asked us if we had any yeast, like baking yeast, because that out, and tried to barter baking yeast for I wanted snow pea seeds.
Oh wow!
So it's kind of like, wow, this really does seem like kind of a end of the world, kind of thing.
Thing, yeah. And that's
bartering seed for yeast, but anyway,
harder and everything, yeah.
It's like, man, like this is what you read about in the books,
right? Exactly.
But she called us one day and said that, like, well, if you guys need to get seeds, like, you better get them right now because they're flying off the shelf. Mm-hmm. And we kind of panicked a little bit, and this was back in like March, early April maybe, and put our rubber gloves and masks on and went to Menards expecting to see the shelves completely empty of seeds, and like just get there and no one's there. There's a bright, shiny, like full wall of burpee seeds. It's kind of like, this is a little anticlimactic, and picked out what we needed.
Yeah, it really depended what state you're in. Some of them roped them off, and you couldn't even get them. I mean, up here, it was, I saw activity. I was watching, because I was watching different shelves and watching how things were moving. The meat, the eggs, the canned goods, all those were all limited or gone. And I thought, okay, seeds are next. And slowly but surely, people caught up, and they did disappear from the shelves. But it wasn't like apocalyptic. Just it took.
I noticed all the mail order places were backed up, but
Johnny Seeds, you couldn't get anything out of Johnny Seeds unless you were commercial. And I talked to a couple guys about that. Drew Demler and Michael Bell, Urban Farmers, they were talking about that.
Oh, okay.
A podcast I released a little while ago. So.
Mm-hmm. But in my yard, I've tried a few things that I didn't really do too well at. One year I got I think it was 3 beehives and put them in my backyard, and I think what happened with them is, like, the next winter there was a really bad disease that killed off, like, I think they said about almost like half the commercial hives in the state. So, like, they didn't make it through the year. And yeah, I mean, part of it, probably maybe something I did or didn't do or whatever, but, so I tried that. That didn't work out very well. Started off with, I think we bought 8 chicks one year, and, kind of figuring that, if you buy 8, maybe 4 or 5 of them would survive. No, all 8 of them survived.
Wow.
Had 8 of them in our backyard, and got those going, and that was just fine. There's manageable having 8, and then one day my wife found on one of the swap pages here, there was some people getting rid of a chicken coop and 8 chickens.
Oh wow!
And it was like free, pretty much. And I guess she had already contacted them, and we went and picked up 8 more chickens and a big chicken coop. It was
chicken math begins. Yes.
Yeah. So that was a little hairy getting that, and throwing like this giant chicken coop in the back of my truck, and figuring the possibility that it could fall out or whatever and be on the news.
How did the flocks handle each other? Because you're introducing 8. There's 8 there. They have their kind of cliques. And was pecking order established right away, or was it kind of a struggle a bit?
They were a little standoffish at first, but to be honest, they blended together very well. I was kind of surprised. I kind of figured there would be some more fighting. There was, I think, 1 or 2 chickens from my flock that were a little bit more dominant, and so we had those 8, and I think, if I remember right, we may have gotten 4 more. Yeah, so we had 12 and then got 8 more. And my wife had picked up a couple of silkies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She was just, because she thought they looked cute or whatever. And,
sure.
They were. But, I think at one point we had 21 or 22 chickens.
Wow.
And the rule in this city is you can have up to 25.
Oh, wow.
As long as they're not a nuisance, and you can't have roosters.
Yeah, right.
So we were just kind of right above that. And honestly, for the way we managed them, and by that I mean we really didn't. Like, they had their coop, and like, they're just kind of out in the yard all day. That was too much. They tore up our yard pretty bad. We couldn't really keep a garden because no matter what we did, they would find a way in.
Okay.
A lot of our berry bushes were, picked clean, or at least as high as they could jump.
Wow.
And
they're survivors. They're survivors, when they're free range, and they'll find it,
Oh yeah. They would like eat my aronia berries and all this, and but we got a lot of eggs. They were very productive. I mean, really, like, we would go out and get like at least a dozen eggs almost every day. We were selling them to people, and that was pretty much paying for the food and everything.
Sure.
Too. But yeah, they were a lot of fun, but having that many was a hassle.
Mm-hmm.
And it is honestly nice now to have a yard.
Sure.
Just because, like I said, they tore up all the grass. If I look at my house on Google Earth, I guess I haven't done it in a little while, but for a while, you could see my backyard's pretty much like all dirt, basically. Everybody else has grass, and then there's like, this one yard with like dirt and garden beds.
Yep.
Just because they kind of did a number on it, but
that's the homesteader. Yep, right there.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of those things. Like, if I was to do that again, like, I think maybe 8 would be about the good number. That's pretty much all the eggs you need for yourself, but not enough to really just be too much, and one thing, like, if you have a dog or a cat, it's kind of easy to get people to come over and take care of it if you're out of town, but it gets to be kind of a tall order to, like, hey, can you come let the chickens out at 6 a.m. and make sure they're back in at 10 or whatever. So
yeah, I've got a friend down in Australia. He was working on a smart chicken door, so you could open it and close it with a cell phone or something of that nature. I don't know where that project ever ended up, but yeah, he had some big ideas about that. But I can see how some people, some people don't like birds, and they're like, I'm not a cat, dog, yes, chickens, ducks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they were fun though. We ended up giving them all away to actually one of my wife's friends that lived outside of the town, and she has a business herself, and she'll post a lot of things on Instagram, and she had a lot of other chickens too, so she'd post pictures of her chickens, and you'd see a whole bunch of them, and I'd kind of look through and be like, oh yeah, there's that one and that one, and
sure.
I guess they were all pretty much all alive up until very recently, so like they lived long, happy lives, I guess. So that's good.
Yeah. So that must have got you a little used to selling some of your products to others, and maybe you were.
Yes.
Did you do that with veggies at all too, or was that all for your own consumption, or?
Just a little bit. Actually, one thing that we did is we had a big patch of Jerusalem artichokes, and I've since cut most of them down. But there was a restaurant in town, and it's actually one of the nicer restaurants that we had a connection with. And we had sold quite a bit of our Jerusalem artichokes to them, so they were on the menu there for a couple of weeks. And this is kind of funny too. This restaurant, they actually have a laminating machine, and so we had traded green onions for lamination services one time. But you got to be kind of creative sometimes.
Very cool. So, so that was getting you into more thinking, we could make some money off this piece of property, or we could make some money off of our homesteading efforts. Cool, very cool. So then, how many beds do you have now? Do you still have the 7?
7, yeah.
Okay, cool. And you're still planting those all out and still doing the garden thing, and Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So it's kind of been scaled back a little bit, just having like the two small kids. It's taken up a lot of the time and not letting us get out as much as we used to, like in the past, few years. But now that they're a little bit older and we can take them outside and they'll entertain themselves, to an extent, we can do a little bit more work on the yard. So
very cool.
We had a couple of years that were pretty lean as far as the garden went, but we're kind of getting back in there where
very cool.
we can plant things. And another thing that I did with my backyard is I planted a lot of, and this is something that turned out to be kind of a mistake, is planted a lot of mini dwarf fruit trees and dwarf fruit trees.
Okay.
And, which, sounds like a good idea, but I think most of these trees I ordered from a place in Washington, and, they're kind of, I guess, cultivars designed for that kind of place, and they did pretty well, for 5, 6, 7 years or whatnot. But the weather here in Iowa is a little different. We had, we get stronger winds, and that's kind of the big thing. And we had a big storm last year that had a really nice apple tree that split in half.
Oh, wow.
And an apricot tree that split in half. But they were still growing and doing fine. But I don't know if you saw on the news this year the derecho that went through.
Yes.
Did you guys have any problems with that up there? Or?
We didn't end up in Minneapolis, but I remember seeing the grain bins that were just totally collapsed.
Yeah.
And all that. It was devastating. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of a freak thing, but that did a number on those trees. That took them down. So I remember I was at work that day and, came home. My wife had told me that, like, all the trees were knocked down, and just kind of coming out there, and it was like, I just stood out there just speechless, staring at it for a while. It was like this beautiful tree just loaded with apples, and there it is on the ground. And
yeah, that's too bad.
Had to chop it up, and I don't know, it's just, you feel like a lot of work wasted. And but it's just kind of one thing I learned, that maybe I would not worry about a mini dwarf tree and just try to get a real apple tree like the ones that always survive here. And
sure.
There, but you live and you learn.
Sure. Did you plant new ones then, or
no? Because they died, or they fell down. I believe it was in August, maybe. So it's just kind of like, well, maybe next year I'll give it a shot. But it was unfortunate because those two big ones that fell down, they provided a lot of shade on our deck that made it just kind of like a really nice place to be. And then now it's wide open, and we can see the people next to us and all that now. So it's, I don't know, we might have to plant something else there to, whether or not it produces fruit or whatnot, just to have that shade and privacy back.
Did it face the south? Must have faced the south.
It was, yes, like south and east. So
yeah, that'll bake you in the summer. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. So okay, so you're doing the homesteading thing, and then all of a sudden you say, "Oh, herbs and teas." How did that? Where did that come into play then?
Well, when I first started getting into growing things, like I said, I'd grow a lot of herbs on the back deck. One of the things I would do is make my own herbal tea blends. Okay. So peppermint growing. 1 year grew chamomile, lemongrass, lemon basil, these kind of things, and I would make my own blends, and sometimes mix it with or like dried herbs that I would buy from various places and so forth, and kind of got into herbal medicine from that.
Okay.
So say I had a cold, or at the time I was working the night shift, and if I needed to get myself to go to sleep a little bit earlier on a day off or something, like drink catnip tea, from the yard. And so I guess got into it from that. And fast forward a few years later, my work schedule changed, and it went to something where and my wife and I just had a baby. So we were kind of tight on our options on a little some things, but when the schedule changed, she was going to have to quit her job in order for me to keep going to my job. And we decided one thing we could try to do is start a small business.
Yeah.
Doing something ourselves and, from our home that would give us a little bit more flexibility. Something she could do like in, whatever time you have off after just having a baby, I guess. But, not something that would be so rigid as opposed to having the job that, you have to go to every this day at this hour or whatever. And
9 to 5 grind. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. One of the first things I thought of would be making herbal teas. Okay. Just because it was something I would just kind of do for myself, and if sometimes pick up little teas here and there, and figured, this is something we can do. And okay. I had traveled around, I guess, the world, and picked up on little teas that people would have in different parts of the world. Like went to Istanbul, Turkey, and they have like a spiced apple tea.
Okay.
That's kind of famous there. And I was trying to think, like, we can try to make things like that. Or I was a Marine infantryman in Iraq.
Oh, wow.
And back in 2004, 2005, and our job there was to patrol through this little city there. And pretty much every day, we'd go to, just kind of stop at someone's house or whatever, and they would always bring out cups of like a chai tea.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was very distinct. It had a flavor to it that I didn't know what it was at the time, but later found out what the spices were, and I could recreate something like that. Or I went to Argentina just on vacation one year, and kind of got hooked on yerba mate down there. So, just kind of had these little memories of things that I had experienced around the world, and thought, maybe we could recreate some of those and bring them here to Des Moines.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And appreciate your service, by the way. Thank you for your service and putting it on the line. My son was in Afghanistan, and
oh, wow.
Yeah, so appreciate the guys. And Daniel Bochris, he's been on my show. He's a Marine as well. Appreciate the guys and ladies that put it on the line for our country. So thank you so much. And I know from your Instagram, you guys do, you and your wife do veteran things, and I think that's really awesome. So I saw that you had Julie and I were looking at your site.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ooh, there's some really cool teas here. I think we're going to order some. So that's why I was asking you what your favorites were and what you were thinking about the different teas. And that is a great story about the chai tea. And my wife really likes chai tea, so we're going to get some of that for sure.
Awesome.
So very cool story. You're not growing all this in your yard, are you?
No. And
I would be impressed if you were. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
All that.
I guess there's kind of a business lesson in this. And that's not to say that there aren't people that do something similar to what we do and grow the herbs. I think there is a place in Lincoln, Nebraska, at the very least, that does most of this. But just to throw it out there, like kind of a pound of black tea, it's like a nicer tea, not like a Lipton or something like that. It takes somebody about a day's worth of labor to pick 1 pound. So, if you think about a lot of the herbs, there's just no way that we would be able to, for one, we'd have to buy a lot of land, to do something like that. But, if you ever picked a bunch of peppermint and dried it, it's, it goes down so much, and 1 pound of peppermint's actually a lot of work. So
right.
We focus on making tea, and so we buy pretty much everything in bulk. I remember one time right after my wife had a baby, borage, that flower is really good for nursing mothers.
Yeah.
And she gave me a little jar, like a pint jar or whatever. And sent me out to the yard. She's like, "Hey, can you fill this up with borage so I can make tea out of it?"
Sure.
I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And 20 minutes later, I come back in, and there's maybe an inch or so in the jar. Like, I'm done. No.
We'll order some dried and ready to go already, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of herbs we work with, like chamomile, and so forth. Just lavender. Just imagining picking all that, it's like we have to kind of do one thing or the other, really. So.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That makes total sense. And I remember, Jack Spirko on the Survival Podcast, like a couple years ago, maybe even 3 or 4 years ago now, he was really talking about teas and experimenting with different teas.
Yeah.
He's like, man, you could really go to town with a business like this. So I don't know if that was an inspiration, but I think it's really cool. You've got this international flavor in middle of Iowa, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, sweet. Good on you for starting that. I think that's great.
You.
So how do you find your audience? How do you find your target? How do you find your customers? And it's a trade secret. It's a trade secret, but
no. Well, we were very lucky when we started this business. There's the downtown Des Moines Farmers Market, which I guess they say is like the second best one in the country or something. It's very big. It gets 10, 20, 30,000 people on a Saturday morning. Just 9 blocks worth of stuff. And when we first started this business, I mean, we had barely done anything, and we had sent in an application to them, and we kind of expected that maybe they would say, like, okay, yeah, you guys can come, like, these 3 dates this year or whatever. And they gave us pretty much like half the schedule. So like every other weekend for like the whole year, which is exactly what we would have wanted.
Sure.
And we were really surprised by that. And that was like a huge boost for us. And we've built up pretty much a big following from there. We kind of consider that like our core thing. We've done other farmers markets in the area, and I've even gone to the Omaha Farmers Market.
Wow.
Which, Omaha is the farmers market's 2 hours and 15 minutes from here. But and it's on Sundays, whereas the Des Moines one's on Saturday. So it's and the hours it starts a little bit later, so it's not quite as early as the morning. But we've built up a pretty good following in Omaha as well too, just from going there a few times a year. And we have some really good customers there. But we've tried going some other places, and if we hear about like an event or something, a couple hours away, trying that out.
Sure.
And that's really been how we've built up most of this business is, kind of face-to-face interactions. We get some kind of like odd orders sometimes from, I guess odd in the sense we're not sure where they come from. Like, somebody from like Maine or,
okay.
Washington State or, whatever will order, and was kind of wonder what the connection is with this person, like wonder how they heard about us. Sometimes you can kind of guess how they had heard of you or whatever, but, sometimes, people will pass through Des Moines and go to the farmer's market and end up, buying tea, then ordering it. We've actually had a guy from New York that's in I guess kind of a famous indie band that started ordering from us, and he just, in some kind of interaction, he brought that up that he was in that band and just touring through Des Moines at the time, and they went to the farmers market and made a pretty good customer out of that. So that's
kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much just getting ourselves out there. I think if somebody is thinking about doing a business, kind of like what we're doing, where you make a product, I would really suggest looking into farmers markets and craft shows, this kind of thing, because usually there are some barriers to getting into it, but they're definitely manageable. You can get in there, and you're interacting with people. You can kind of see how they react to certain products, the questions they ask about it, and it gives you real-time feedback where I suppose if you were really savvy with the internet, maybe you can kind of figure these things out, like, why people are bouncing from your site or, this or that or whatever. But I think it's been very helpful to get most of our feedback from, just people's reactions to being face to face.
Yeah, totally cool. Do you have samples there where you're like, oh, do you want to try this one? Do you want to try that one? Or is it?
Yeah, what we do is we've got usually about, maybe 25 different teas that we have. And we have everything out in baskets, but we'll have baby food jars.
Okay.
With some of the tea in there. And usually we'll, people can open them up and smell. And, it gives you a pretty good idea of what you're in for. And what we typically do is would bring, maybe one or two, just kind of depending on the size of the event, those air pot coffee things. Yeah. And fill it up with, different types of tea and give people samples of, some of the, better sellers. But due to Corona restrictions, we weren't doing that this year. So that's something, that we've kind of not done.
That's interesting. So did they have farmers markets at all, or did they really throttle everything back? Or
oh boy, yeah, that was man. Okay, so like I said, the downtown Des Moines farmers market was kind of our biggest
sure.
focus, and there, I think it was a city ordinance that there weren't supposed to be gatherings, of over certain amount of people outside, and the farmers market I think was specifically cited as ones that you can't. And
sure.
It kind of, when they were talking about letting people go to farmers markets, it kind of opened up a lot of online Karens, I guess you would say. I hate kind of using it.
The mob of grumpy. Yes.
Yeah, getting on there, and they were going to allow farmers markets in the state of Iowa. But everybody was thinking like the downtown Des Moines farmers market, which is like a big event. But in the state of Iowa, there's about 100, I think, like literally like 100 farmers markets.
Oh, wow.
And most of them are going to be, a parking lot at the county courthouse with, maybe 10 people selling things out of the back of their truck.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it's like
going on in Minnesota. Yep,
exactly. Yeah, oh, yeah, exactly. And it's like, why, like we could go to a Costco in West Des Moines where, 10,000 people have gone in that day.
Yes.
But you can't buy a squash out of the back of someone's truck in a parking lot.
Yeah.
But, so what the downtown Des Moines farmers market did, and, I'm not like saying they did anything wrong. I know that was just kind of what was put on their plate, was they did a drive-through market.
Oh.
So they had a big parking lot at our state capitol. And there were a lot fewer vendors, and we were all spaced apart, 50 feet from one another. And, we had to have masks on, and people would drive through. And I guess people kind of weren't allowed to like get out of their cars and like come out and look. So they had to, drive up. And so, typically, like I was saying, we'd have all of our tea out, and we'd have like the jars and samples. So what we had to do is we made a menu.
Oh, okay.
Of our teas, and sure. Laminated it so we could wipe it off or whatever. But cars would come, and you'd hand them the menu and say, you look it over, let me know what you wanted. Mm-hmm. And as you can imagine, sales were quite a bit lower than previous years, just because for one, it kind of took the farmers market experience out of it, like getting up and walking around and looking at things. But
your farmer, your homesteader, your merchant, if you will. So yeah, it
was hard to kind of really make a connection with people. But it was nice, I guess, in a sense that it allowed kind of some of your more diehard customers that came out. So like the first time they did it, sales actually weren't too bad. I think a lot of people were just kind of chomping at the bit, for something like that. But, it's kind of as the year went on, it just wasn't the same, But there were some smaller farmers markets that we did. There was one that still in the same city, but just like a different part of the city, that we did. Yeah, I mean, that they don't get as many people as like the main one that we would do, but still was nice to kind of keep a bookmark and things, and make some new customers, meet some new people.
Sure.
We really, a lot of like the craft shows and holiday theme shows that we would typically do, a lot of those canceled. And yeah, I remember the last one we did was back in March, and then
Crazy.
Then like everything else, this time of the year canceled. There were a few smaller ones that happened that we took part of that were pretty good, but yeah, everything was kind of really ratcheted down. So COVID definitely put some strain on us, but in a way it made us think outside the box a little bit. So we started dabbling in retail a little bit more. So we're in a few stores locally.
Like
that's
some type thing.
What was that?
Like a consignment type thing where you sell it, a little bit of profit goes to you, but most of it's coming to us.
Yeah, kind of. There's like a few, I guess, like you'd say, boutique retailers that, would sell it to like at wholesale prices, and they would sell it, and that's actually been pretty good for us this year.
Good.
We've talked to some like bigger grocery stores and like health food stores and stuff around the area, and got some bites on our product, but. We just trying to do this. We've done a couple subscription boxes, and they're just kind of reached out to some people and had our tea in those. We've done like a few like, I guess you would say, corporate gifts.
Sure.
So just trying to I guess diversify a little bit from the farmers market, and definitely trying to get more online sales than we've had before. So we've like our email list is something that we've always kind of I guess you would say I'm kind of put on a back burner a little bit, maybe not
guilty.
Maybe not giving it the attention it should have, but we've started kind of hitting that a little bit harder more, and that's made a big difference. My wife, she's put a lot of effort into like building up our Instagram, and she gets pretty competitive about that. Like oh yeah, we got 7 more people today, and this and that. So we just definitely trying to do that, and with her at the helm on social media, it definitely has gotten better. Used to be when I was kind of doing more of that, like, maybe I'd post something on Instagram, once a week or so, if that. But, she's very active daily and like interacting with people. And,
yeah, my Michael Bell down in Dallas, Texas, he has Dallas Half Acre Farms where he's growing greens and all kinds of veggies and such. He found that Instagram is a very powerful tool. And for him, selling different, his salad mix, the vegans, they were all over it, and he'd find like hashtag vegan or something. And right now Instagram's doing some dumb things with the election. You can't even join some hashtags right now. I found this out today and I was like, what?
Oh really? Oh, wow.
But like you get into a certain hashtag and then you start to, hey, I'm great. I'm glad you're a vegan. I've got some great, Dallas vegans or vegans in Fort Worth or wherever you're at, and hey, I've got this stuff. Maybe you want to try this. And they like the story. They like the, that it's homegrown, that it's no pesticides, no herbicides, none of that. It's just lettuce, and it's awesome. And this, Michael's a muscle-bound guy, so it's like, oh, this bodybuilder dude who's a teacher. All right, let's do this. So there are different ways you can do it, like using Instagram, using the social media platforms. It can suck up a lot of time, but there's ways you can do it too. So I really like the idea of the subscription boxes too. That's kind of like Nicole Sauce and her Coffee of the Month club or whatever she's got going on. So I think there might be some, who knows? I mean, there might be some kind of thing there. It's kind of like the CSA box again too, right? So you can get a little different coffee of the month or tea of the month and try that. So
Yeah. And that's another thing too. We got our tea and someone's CSA box. Like, so that's, I mean, not to say that's like a huge like revenue source, but it's something,
right.
And at a time when it feels like a lot of things have been taken away from or a lot of opportunities taken away. It's like you got to look for all these other ones, and I mean, I really think that it'll pay off for us. Like having to go to like all these different sources, and we're seeing some new faces, and making some new customers, and
sure
all that.
And being on our podcast, we get to amplify your message and say, hey, try this tea,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I didn't ask, and shame on me. Red Dragon. Where did you come up with that name? Just out of curiosity.
Well, my last name is Lewellin, and that's about as Welsh as it gets, and so that's kind of something that's always been a thing for me and my family, that the background, and
cool.
So we took the dragon from the Welsh flag, and that kind of made something out of that for the logo. But what I think is kind of cool about that is the dragon is something that takes from Eastern traditions as well as Western traditions too.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, there is that connection. Whereas tea, when you talk black tea, green tea, and so forth, it comes from China, India, and then a lot of the herbs we work with, kind of more from the Western tradition, and kind of our folklore and so forth. So just think it's just kind of a perfect name for us.
That is a really cool point. Really, I like that. I really like that. That's cool. Yeah, that was divine. I don't know where you got that idea, but that's really cool.
I have my moments sometimes, but.
Yeah, and as a kombucha guy, I like I'm doing a 50-50 green tea, black tea blend in my new kombucha stuff. So I appreciate it. Each one has its own unique flavor, and then you add fruits to it, and it's good stuff. So really good stuff. So what pitfalls looking forward? Any lessons learned from starting up this business? I mean, did you have to deal with it's like a food product, so you have to deal with an approval from some municipal agency or some state agency about that, or insurance, LLC, that kind of stuff? Did you have to run into those roadblocks or anything?
Yeah, that was a bit of a pitfall. We started off registered as an LLC, and that was a pretty smooth process. It's really it may seem intimidating sometimes to fill out that paperwork, but that was nothing. One of the big hurdles that we had right off the bat was getting insurance, business insurance. And now typically for doing like a lot of these events and farmers markets, you have to have $1 million worth of liability insurance, which sounds like a lot, but really it's not that big of a deal. But we had to really shop around for insurance because just what we do, it seems like something that would be kind of standard, but they were kind of like, what, you're gonna okay, so you're taking things out of bags and putting them with other things and putting them in other bags, and they're kind of like, that's crazy, no way. And
hey, there's a whole world out there that's putting things into bags and smaller bags. They don't have any insurance, right? But it's a very popular product. I don't know what that is.
Exactly. Yeah. And who knows, they might be insuring that someday soon, and the way things are going.
Different states, they probably are getting insurance. So
yeah, but and like the quotes we'd get for insurance, they were all over the place. Like some people would just flat out say no way, and we'd get some that would come in pretty reasonably, and others that wanted like $2,000 a month or something. It's just something crazy like that.
Brutal.
But, that was a bit of a hurdle. And dealing with the food inspector was kind of something too that's ongoing, I guess. But there's cottage food laws in most states.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of read them, and every state's a little bit different. But in Iowa, if you're selling primarily at farmers markets, that there's a lot more you can I guess get away with. So when we started off, we were making most of the tea like in our home, and which was just fine for selling at farmers markets. And we decided that it would be good for us to get a commercial kitchen.
Okay, that's what I'm going to ask next. Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. We actually one of our customers asked us why we weren't doing retail, and I thought that was one of the reasons why is because we didn't have access to a commercial kitchen. And she actually had a connection for us. And so we rent out kitchen space right now in a bakery at a grocery store.
Yeah.
And, it's just kind of a deal where they give us our space there, and it's worked out pretty good. But we started doing it in the commercial kitchen, even though technically if we were making online sales, we would have to do it, which we were. But we were doing everything right, but we didn't have the license.
Sure.
And one day we had signed up for an event, and the inspector called, and because he had saw like all the vendors and had their phone numbers and stuff. And when I answered the phone, and he said hi, I'm so and so with the Iowa Food Inspection people. I admit I got to chill down my spine. Right. But we had basically when we told him what we were doing, he said that what we're doing is probably fine, but he wanted us to go get the license.
Gotcha.
And so that was fine. And I remember a conversation I had with somebody in the office, I think a couple months earlier, when I was asking what we'd have to do. And I remember when I called her, I was very vague, hi, I'm a guy with a business, and I had a few questions. I wouldn't say who I was or very specifically what I was doing, just kind of and she kind of caught on to what I was doing. She's okay, well, if you're doing this, you probably need this license, and but we did get all that straightened out. We had the inspector come and look at our kitchen, and we actually got dinged for a couple of things that were well, I guess it wasn't necessarily us, but while he was there, he dinged the grocery store and their kitchens for a few things. But they can be a little intimidating to deal with those, but for the most part, they're helpful and just kind of no nonsense people, and they'll guide you through what you need to know. Sure. But just kind of like with insurance, what we do was considered a little unique to them, so they didn't have established protocol for that. So there are some things they were kind of iffy on, but it just took a little bit of time, I guess, and talking to some people to get everything ironed out. I remember we did the farmers market in Omaha, and we had to deal with the Nebraska people. Ooh. And you figure Nebraska is a little bit more freewheeling than Iowa, but they had this all these things that we were supposed to do, and I guess if we wanted to do this event, we were supposed to pay $300 fine or whatever. And this guy read off this big list to me, and I got off the phone with him and looked at the webpage again and saw that there was just one little clause or something that said if this is for the farmers market, then it's something kind of like that. And when I called him back, it's just kind of it says here this, and he's just kind of well, I guess it does. I guess you guys are fine. Really, that's it? Yeah. So and we've had the health inspectors come up to us in Nebraska at these events, and you do get a little nervous when they come around, but they're just kind of go, okay, you guys are doing samples, and okay, cool, and walk on. So yeah. I mean, these people, they're not out to get you, even though in your head maybe sometimes you might think that, but they're not.
Yeah, as a railroad crossing inspector for big federal government agency, it is interesting when I pull up on railroad employees at a railroad crossing, and they might be inspecting track or whatever, and they're in their track mobile, and they see me in a federal vehicle, and they look at their eyes get big, oh, and then I've never seen railroaders move as fast as when I pull up, and they're like, gone. They all get nervous, you know, and I think that's just a natural thing is like, oh my God, the police are here, or the inspectors here, or the whatever, and they're going to get me. And they just boogie on out of there. It's natural, you know, and the way we approach it in my agency is, this is a learning thing. We're all in this together, and we're not trying to get that person unless they're trying to. We're here for public safety. If you're trying to really do something bad, then you're going to get in trouble. But otherwise, most people are trying to do the right thing, you know, and that's the way we approach it. It's a learning thing. It's not like a, you know, I'm going to get you today. That's not the way we want to operate. So, oh, your samples, those are bad. I'm going to get you.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, there are specific rules that they lay out for what we do. And I mean, to be honest, some of them, you know, we're not 100% sure on everything, you know, that's out there, just because there is so much stuff. But, you know, everything is out there, though. And, I mean, obviously, we stand by everything that we do. We think everything we do is just fine. And, you know, by the law and otherwise. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, the bookkeeping, the taxes, all that it chews up time and effort, and all that can be a pitfall too for people. So yeah,
it absolutely can. And that's kind of something where, you know, maybe sometimes wearing too many hats for your business can really take away from everything else too. You know, if you're spending too much time, you know, like for us, like labeling our tea or whatever, when, you know, you could be marketing online or doing your books or vice versa. And that's kind of something for us right now. We're kind of at an awkward size where, you know, we started off kind of very small where, you know, it did make sense to do everything by hand, but, you know, we're kind of at a point where, you know, maybe it makes more sense to like outsource a lot of things for, you know, as insofar as like labeling or this kind of thing, because it eats up a lot of time, but still we're not so big where I don't know, like we really need the flexibility right now too to be able to do different things, but you know, like we can't send off for, you know, 1,000 labels of this one tea or, you know, whatever. So kind of a little awkward size wise, I guess, you know, insofar as that. But
yeah, it sounds like a business opportunity for somebody else to jump in and kind of do some labeling or do the
and you know, actually we've had you know, some people that we know that you know, just kind of, you know, need a little bit of money here and there, like, okay, yeah, we'll put these labels on the bags, and you know, it's an easy job. It just kind of takes time, basically, and that's about it. So,
but it frees you up to do other things, which is important too, like mix the tea, right, and get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, mix the tea. You know, deal with customers, and you know, this kind of thing. You know, post on Instagram. I know there's a lot of businesses out there that kind of make their money doing marketing for small businesses, and I just couldn't imagine like outsourcing that, you know, and getting rid of like our personal touch on these things, you know. So it's something that takes time, and you know, you would do.
Right.
Well, the stepdaughter, she's 14, and she'll label bags actually quite a bit, you know, for money, and so it works out pretty good. Yeah.
Free exchange, or it's an exchange, right?
Yeah. I mean,
time and labor for some cashola. That's good. Yeah. Now, how about with the pandemic, getting materials in, getting the teas and the herbs and all the other things that you need to make your blends? Has that been okay? And then also storage. How do you store all this stuff?
Yeah, well, for the pandemic, right off the bat, we had some problems getting some things, namely elderberry and elderflower products. We have one tea that's one of our more popular ones that takes elderflower or elderberries. You know, we make it both ways sometimes, but that sold out pretty quick, and we actually kind of button heads with one supplier, honestly, because they would sell out of a lot of things. They said that, you know, their business was like way up, you know, because of all of this, and So we would place orders, and then we would get like half the order or something, and they just kind of send out a little invoice. It's like, yeah, we're out of this. And it's like, well, you could have told us.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, elderberry was kind of hard to get a hold of. I think there were a few other herbs that we had problems with, kind of back in April,
Sure.
namely. And, it's been a little spotty with some things through the summer, but I think we're getting to the point where there's not really too many shortages on
Good.
things. But yeah, it definitely was something where there were like delays too.
Yeah.
Just like in shipping, and like, maybe places like we're missing, their workers or something. So
Yeah.
it did hit us. We weren't able to fulfill orders as fast as what we would normally do, but not too bad, I guess.
Yeah. Supply chain was gamey there for a while, but hopefully it's all stabilized. Now storage, you're getting all the product in. Where do you put it? Do you put it in your closet? Do you put it under your bed? I mean, where do you put all this stuff?
Yeah, we've got the kitchen, the commercial kitchen that we use, and we pretty much have everything there.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so we get deliveries, here at our house, and usually it just comes in big boxes, and it seems like every day we get something, and usually just take it there.
Very cool.
And that's where we keep all of our herbs. And so yeah, it works out pretty good. I mean, we've got some stuff here in the house, it's like our labels and all this, but and we have some tea here just to fulfill online orders, but most everything we keep at the kitchen.
Yeah, totally cool. I know that there's a local kombucha maker here, and he's got space at a brewery, and he does all of his stuff there. There's a commercial kitchen you can rent in kind of just south of Minneapolis.
Oh yeah.
And so if you're getting something up and going, there might be opportunities like that. If you're out there in space and you're thinking, oh, I want to make XY product and I need a commercial kitchen, I can't do it. Well, there might be an opportunity for somebody, they're not making stuff 24/7. There might be an opportunity to get in there and do some things, I think
Yeah.
great. How did you determine that? Did you know, you maybe said that, did you know someone at the grocery store, or did you just kind of start calling around, or how did you find that opportunity?
It was a customer of ours.
Okay.
And, like I said, she asked, why we weren't in retail. And, I said that, one of the reasons I gave her was that, we needed a commercial kitchen. And she's like, well, like, what exactly do you need? And I was like, well, to be honest, like pretty much what we would need is a commercial kitchen address, basically, and like a table and a roof, over us. We doing what we do, we don't really need a lot of equipment.
Right.
Like we have to use an oven maybe like once a month or something, but we just kind of need like access to the kitchen. And she's like, really, that's it. And her son had just he was an architect and done work for this grocery store.
Oh, cool.
It's like an independent grocery store, so they have some leeway on things.
Sure.
And it's kind of made the connection, and they had space in their bakery, and we just agreed on paying a certain amount a month. And it's worked out pretty good for us. So
very cool. Very cool.
And I think we've been there for, I want to say, almost 3 years now.
Wow. So how long has Red Dragon been in place?
5 years.
Oh, oh, cool.
Yeah. So maybe it's been a little more than 3, but it's been some time. But and that's one thing I'll say too, is if you have customers, sometimes you can ask them, like, we put on your email list or something, like, hey, if you need help getting connections with like a kitchen or stores you want to be in or something, a lot of times people are willing to help you, and you don't know who's out there and what kind of resources you have.
Yeah, especially if they really like your product. I mean, getting on your email list is step one, right? And then getting them to open their wallet. I've gone that far, come a little further with me, So buy some more of my stuff. So what do you need to help your business grow? I mean, maybe you don't want to grow, but a lot of businesses do. So what would help you thrive and grow?
Well, for one, just allowing us to tell our story. Like I appreciate that a lot, and that means a lot to us. But I guess just people give us a shot. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, our email list. Check out our website. Read some of the stories about the teas, and that's about all we can do. Yeah.
Very good, and give it a try.
Yeah, give it a shot. Yeah.
That's the big thing. I mean, it's great to follow, but it's even better to give it a shot. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, is there anything else you want to say? Anything else you have for our audience? Any questions for me? Anything?
Let's see here. I think I think that's about all I've really got.
Putting you on the spot,
Yeah. See, I kind of sketched out some notes from the questions, if there's anything.
Yeah, I've found that helps in case we get stuck and we're looking at each other like, what the heck are we doing? But it never ends up that way because it's always fun. So, well, where can we find you? What would be the best way to find you online? Instagram, your website? Where should we go?
Our website is reddragonherbs.net. When we started the business, reddragonherbs.com was taken, but we own reddragonherbs.com now with a redirect on it.
Nice.
Which we're probably the only business in the world that keeps everything on the .net but has the redirect on .com, I guess. So, but we might change that someday. But yeah, reddragonherbs.net. You can find us on Facebook under Red Dragon Herbs and Teas, and on Instagram is Red Dragon Herbs and Teas as well.
Very cool.
And you can also subscribe to our email list if you go to the website. And like I said, that's something we're trying to hit a little bit harder. And we're not just sending out like hey, buy stuff like every day or whatever. One thing we've been working on this just from this fall is every week I'll send an email out with just like a little story, I guess, of something that kind of relates to like our herbs and teas. One that I did that came out right before Halloween was in Macbeth, where the witches are toil, toil, cauldron burn, when they're talking about the Eye of Newt and things like that, they're really talking about throwing herbs.
Oh.
For the most part. Like it's just kind of little, I guess, kind of like folk terms and slangs for herbs and things like that. So I put something out about that. The last one I just did was about like the herbs that the pilgrims probably would have had at the first Thanksgiving.
Very cool.
So we're planning on keeping that forward, where every week just kind of like a little story, so. And there's a lot of little things that kind of relate to herbs and teas. So
very cool.
We won't run out of material. So
no. I mean the whole the natural healing, the herbs, all of those things, getting out in nature. I mean that's really powerful stuff that modern Western culture is just like, whatever, give me another pill, right? But there's some real health benefits from those herbs and getting out and feeling the soil, touching the soil, and getting close to nature. I think that's great, and I really like that. I'm really interested in the newsletter, so I'm definitely going to sign up for that. And
okay, appreciate it.
So Christmas coming up, what would be a great Christmas tea, a great holiday season tea?
Well, one thing that we just started doing, we just launched them on our webpage a couple days ago, really, is we've made a gift box.
Yes.
It's got 6 teas in it, and they're, I guess you would say like a sample size, like each bag probably makes like 8 cups worth of loose leaf tea, and it's 6 of our more popular ones. And it's a very attractive little box. That's would be kind of a nice little gift. Some of my favorite teas are the chai Iraqi style. Like I was saying, there's just kind of a good story behind that. I like the Turkish apple one quite a bit. That's kind of unintentionally seasonal, just because it's almost like an apple cider, but it, what they would have in Turkey more or less. Moroccan mint. I like that, and that's a pretty common herbal like blend that you can find places. Another one I really like is called Mental Clarity, which is a yerba mate based blend with peppermint, lemongrass, ginkgo biloba, and rosemary.
Mm.
And like yerba mate is like it's a pretty cool herbal tea. I really like that a lot. And we have one that we call the Red Dragon, which is a rooibos tea. It's an orange flavored rooibos with hibiscus, lemongrass, orange peel, and a little bit of ginger and cinnamon.
Ooh,
so it's not like
good, yeah.
spicy. It just has like a little warming kick at the end. I really like that one a lot. So yeah, and we've got another one that I like called Anti-Nausea, which the name of it sounds kind of like, not very appealing, but it's peppermint, chamomile, and ginger. It's something that my wife actually made during the first trimester of her last pregnancy to make her feel better. And it's just kind of a nice, like, all-purpose herbal tea. One of our biggest seller is anti-inflammatory, which is ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon with apples and lemon peel. And that one, it tastes really good, and it's really popular. And Out for the Count is one of our more popular ones. That's we have two sleep teas, one called Rest and Relaxation, which is going to be the more mild version of that. And then Out for the Count, it's pretty much the same stuff in different proportions, but with valerian. And we sell a lot more of the Out for the Count, the strong one. So it's a lot of restless people here, I guess. So I don't know.
It's better than a sleeping pill, right? Have some sleepy time stuff. Yeah. Anti-nausea. I think I would have to brew that every time I turn on the news, or I don't know which, but yes.
Anything that man, it's been a weird year. So
yeah. I would totally drink that all day long. Very cool. I love it. I mean, there's some really good ideas here, and I think that holiday box is really that's really smart, and would go really good with some new Small Scale Life mugs, I got to tell you. So yes, very good stuff. Yeah.
And I guess one thing, when's this going to be published?
Probably we'll do next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Okay. Use the code, I love tea.
I love tea.
Yeah. All one word. And, that'll get you 10% off the website. So, that one will be there. So,
and I'll probably I'll post this up to Patreon before that, but maybe some people I'll kick it over to them first, and get them on the insider kind of thing. So that'd be good.
Okay, yeah. And if anybody has any kind of specific questions about kind of the side hustle business or whatever, they can, feel free to get in touch with me too. So
absolutely. No, this was great. I really appreciate it. Great conversation. And
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on again, to talk more about homestead failures and
homestead failures. Yeah.
And maybe after things pick up, how tea business is and everything. I think that's great. So Red Dragon, love that. That is really cool, man. Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good luck with the tea business in this holiday season, and let's do this.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Off. Okay, turn this one off. Yeah, that sounds good. Good. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by. We were talking about getting some tea, so these were good. These are good, and I want to try some of that chai Iraqi, I think, in the turkey apple. That sounds really good. So.
Yeah, you can use the code GIFT 2020, and that's good until I think Tuesday, and that's free shipping. So whatever's the better deal.
Very cool. Are you guys going to do cup? Do you have mugs or anything, or is it just?
You know what? We've here's one. Oh. But we just had I think she got these off like a Vista print or something.
Yeah, that's what we did too. We just got some new mugs in, and I've never done mugs before, so we just got some. And we've got some nice small scale.
It was kind of there's some lady at the farmers market that a few people we've talked to that make really nice ones, and we had one lady. she couldn't, for some reason, get the logo right. It just like looked, it just didn't look right. I don't know. I don't think it was a problem with her. I think it was like something with our logo. And, but every now and then my wife, she brings it up like, oh yeah, we should have like these like fancy, I think there's somebody up in Minneapolis or something. She was kind of,
oh really? Cool.
Yeah, I'll have to double check with her, make sure I heard that right. So
yeah, I really like the ones that like do the pottery, they make their own pottery and then they put the logo on there somehow. And we have an distant aunt that does a ton. Their whole house suddenly is full of mugs, and I was like, man, we should really have you do some small scale life ones. That'd be cool. But we did get some off of Vistaprint, so yeah, that's we're playing with that too. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So
well, good luck with the business. This was great. I really appreciate.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
great to get to know you, and it's nice to know that I got some friends down in Des Moines now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you ever heading this way, we've.
Same for Minneapolis. If you're coming up this way, let us know. St. Paul, Minneapolis, whatever. So. Yeah,
we've gone up a few times in the past couple of years. We went to go see. I guess I don't know what kind of music you're into, but the Specials when they played at First Avenue. Boy, that's probably 3 years ago, maybe.
Wow.
And then I went and saw Guns N' Roses up there. I think that was 3 years ago as well too. And so, just every now and then we get up that way. But.
Awesome. Yeah, and we don't get down that way so much. We're going east a lot for some reason. I don't know why, but we'll be we'll see if we can get down that way too. That'd be a lot of fun. So you never know when we show up.
Yeah. I mean, let me know. Like Des Moines, it's kind of a cool city. It's changed a lot, since like I was a kid, where there's like nothing, and like now there's some like a kind of a t-shirt maker guy, that makes little stupid sayings or whatever, and they're kind of funny sometimes, but they make a lot of ones for Des Moines, and they have one that says, Des Moines, let us exceed your low expectations. It's kind of true, because people like do come to Des Moines and like expect it to be like, nothing. They're like, oh wow, this is kind of cool, so kind of gets a good reputation from, that, but yeah, I like Des Moines. The farmers market, like I was saying, is really cool. There's some good restaurants, and it's it is like, I think, almost more like a smaller Minneapolis.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like if you think about like some other cities are kind of like a little bit more like Rust Belt-ish or what. There's kind of more. Yeah, I don't know. Des Moines kind of has like the edges rounded off a little bit more than like. It's just not too gritty or anything. So
yeah. I would say that about Omaha too. It's kind of like a smaller St. Paul, Minneapolis kind of thing going on.
Yeah, so. Omaha is a cool city. Like it does have like that kind of Rust Belt feel, but it also has like kind of the more like a Minneapolis kind of. So you get a lot of different things there. But
and once upon a time. I was going there every other week to work with the Union Pacific Railroad. I was there a lot. And it's got that cool historic district over there too, which is
Old Market.
Yeah. Some really good people at the Union Pacific Railroad. Well, a lot of them got laid off, but some good people over there too. And
we'll take the kids over there for the zoo there, because it's like the second biggest in the country or something. So that's kind of fun. And they've got the I was telling you I did the podcast about the Cold War history. They've got the Strategic Air Command Museum there, which is it's a little outside of the city, but it's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean Omaha, it's a fun place. So
and that's another fun fact about the UP. Their dispatch center can actually get switched over to a command center, and same with BNSF down in Fort Worth. Their whole system can get turned into a command center too. They've got.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how that would. Yeah, and see how that makes sense.
Looks like NASA, So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So good, man. I'll let you go. You got the kiddos, and you can. Well, it's 9 o'clock. They're probably in bed, but.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Yeah. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I'll have to keep in touch. So
absolutely, we'll do. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. Talk to you later.
Yep. Bye-bye. Please hit subscribe and hit the little like button.